Hey guys, Mrs. Bukaki here. For this video we're going to talk about 3x3 matrices and their inverses. And this is section 4.6 in the book. But first I want to do a little bit of a warm-up. I want to take a look at solving a matrix equation. Basically mean I want to solve for x. So this has to do with our inverses and determinants. So the first step for this problem is find your determinant. So in this case, remember, finding a determinant is multiplying your a and your d, taking that and subtracting your c and d. So our determinant is going to be negative 2 times 3 minus negative 5 times 1. So our determinant is negative 6 minus a negative 5 or plus 5, which equals negative 1. Step 2 in solving this is to take our determinant, 1 divided by our determinant, and multiply it by, and if you remember, we did a couple things. Here's the standard form of a matrix. Well, for an inverse, we'll say an inverse, I want to switch D and A, and then make B and C negatives. So that's our goal. Let's take a look. We're going to look at this matrix, and we're going to apply this principle to it. So we have, I'll write it all out, 2, negative 5, 1, and 3 now becomes 1 over our determinant times this new format right here, times 3, negative 2, they're switching positions, and now we're going to switch the signs of B and C. Okay, but now I have our determinant out in front, so I need to divide by a negative 1 for all of these. So we're going to get negative 3, negative 5, 1, and 2. Now that gives us our inverse, but we still need a couple more steps. Okay, so the next step I want to do is take what we found, our inverse here, and multiply it by what our equation's equal to. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this by, was it 2, negative 2, negative 2, 2, negative 2, 2. And ask yourself, can this be multiplied? I have a 2 by 2 and I have a 2 by 1. Our middle two numbers match. Yes, we can multiply it. So when I do that, when I look at my first row and my first and only column, so I'm going to get negative 3 times negative 2 plus negative 5 times 10, or that's actually going to be a plus minus negative 10. Okay. Actually, let me rewrite this. Let's do this so it's more clear. Okay. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. And negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. There's our first number. Yeah, let's make it a little more clear. So I'm going to look at the second row and our first and only column and do the same thing. 1 times negative 2, negative 2. 2 times 2, 4. Simplify all that. I get a negative 4, 2. And we're done. Okay, so the steps to solve for x here, we find our determinant, which was negative 1, and we apply that format for an inverse of a matrix. Okay, multiply by our determinant to get this, and then take that and multiply it by the rest of our equation, and this is going to be your answer. Alright guys, let's do an example where I want you to tell me if two matrices are multiplicative inverses of each other. So fortunately for us, we can do that easily on our calculator and no calculations for us required. So the very first step, I want you to hit second and it's x raised to the negative 1 or the inverse. Underneath of it, it says matrix. It's right here. So I want you to hit second matrix, and it'll pull you up to this menu. Okay, so scroll over to the edit button. I'll do this along with you. To the edit button, and scroll down to, it should already be highlighted, to matrix A, and hit enter. This screen should pop up where you have a 3x3. You can actually change this 3x3 to any dimension you would like, and then hit the arrow button down and change your number, your data. So once you have hit enter, you've highlighted A, and you hit enter, please input this information here for this matrix. Okay, once you do that, do the same thing for matrix B right here. So I'll scroll up again, input the following. Again, we are, hit your second button, which is right here. Go down to matrix, right there, second matrix. Arrow over to edit, and then highlight the number 1 and hit enter and input your following information. Go back and do the same thing, so the same process, and highlight B and then enter this information here. Once you've input both matrices, I want you to essentially exit out, so you can hit like second off button, and then I want you to bring back just a blinking screen as if you were to type in 3 minus 2. But instead, we are going to multiply our matrices together, because we know if they are inverses of each other, we should get the identity matrix. So if you go back into second matrix again, and this time all you have to do is highlight number 1 and hit enter. It should pop up on your screen. Hit your multiplication sign. Again, go to second matrix, scroll down to B, hit enter. So you have A times B. And then for your last step, just hit enter again. And you should get your identity matrix where your 1s line up and you have 0s for everything else. So yes, in fact, these two matrices are multiplicative inverses of each other. So just to reiterate real quick, step 1, go to second inverse of x. Underneath it says matrix. Arrow over to edit. Hit or highlight A and input your data. Do the same thing for B. Highlight B and input your data. And then just go back to your regular screen as if you were to type in 3 minus 2. Go to second x inverse or second matrix. Highlight your matrix A. Hit your multiplication sign. Do the same thing. Highlight your matrix B and then hit enter. And you should get your identity matrix. We'll do some of these in class. So it's kind of hard to show you on this video and go over it step by step, but we'll definitely do more practice in class. Alright guys, that's it for now. Have a good night.